So next topic, I'm really interested in, when we started NSO, the vision was, hey, we're going to drive the world to Netconf. Over the last couple of years, we're kind of getting customers saying, you guys do such a good job with the NEDs, I'm not sure I care about Netconf as much anymore. So this, I think, will be a really interesting conversation with Etienne on why you should care about Netconf. So, Etienne, I will hand things over to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. So I am Etienne Roux. I'm a network engineer from Orange France. And I'm really happy to be here first to share my experience with the Netconf NEDs, which is my presentation. But also because I will be able to say to my kids that Dad was on YouTube, and they will be very proud. So we'll talk about Netconf NEDs versus CLI NEDs in a particular schema, because we are using a lot of Nokia SRS routers in Orange France. And then we made some quick benchmark that I wanted to share with you here. So we'll talk about the Orange France ecosystem, just to share how we are using NSO, how is our network. I will share my benchmark recipe, and of course the result. We'll see some interop feedback, because it's not always green. And we'll see what's next for us, for Orange France. So the Orange France NSO ecosystem, I think it's quite classic. Nothing particular, but you have 2 or 3 things to remember, to note, is that the one is that we developed a GUI, a specific GUI for the operator to be able to configure the network without knowing anything about the network or NSO. We also have another ops portal to avoid for the ops to connect to NSO and to make some mistakes. NSO receive command from the web portal or from the OSS for the order management. You configure the service in our IT tool, and it sends the information to NSO that will, to Camunda and then to NSO, and it will apply it on the network. We have a lot of Nokia PE routers, and this is why I will present the result on these routers. On the right, on this side, there is a use case that we are currently using with NSO. So we have the mobile backhaul router configuration. These are Nokia routers. We have the 5G CP services configuration that is based on LLDP Netconf notification reception. So when the router receives a new neighbor, he sends an LLDP Netconf notification to NSO, and then NSO launch the configuration of the CPE. We have some ops tool. So one is the EVPN service configuration. We are migrating our VPLS legacy services to EVPN, and we use NSO for that. We also have OLT migration, single OLT migration or massive OLT migrations, and we'll talk about it in the recipe, in the benchmark recipe. Massive OLT migration is when we do 10 or 20 OLT migration at the same time. And the last one is the upgrade of Cisco routers that we used to do with NSO. Now we move to another tool. But this is one of our use cases. And for all of these use cases, we are using CLI NEDs. But there is a move at Orange France to move to Netconf. We want that the machine-to-machine communication avoid CLI to configure the router and even to check the router, and then to use Netconf or telemetry instead of SNMP. So we have four major tools category. The first one is the TAC tools. They are developed internally by the TAC, our TAC. They are based on Netconf or telemetry. We store the configuration in XML instead of CLI to be able to inject them using Netconf on the routers. And we have also some other network tools that use CLI for the moment, but that we are migrating to Netconf. Of course, we are using AWX and Ansible for some other use cases. We also have all of our IT that is developed internally by the IT department. All of these tools are legacy. They are based on CLI, and we are trying to migrate them to Netconf, and it's a long work. And of course, unless I wouldn't be there, we are using Cisco NSO, but with CLI NEDs at the moment. And because we are moving to Netconf on every tools, we were considering, okay, what's NSO able to do with Netconf to configure the router? Then we did some checks. We generate some NEDs, some Netconf NEDs, and very quickly we asked, okay, but what is the performance between Netconf and CLI with NSO with a real use case that we make every day on the network? So benchmark time. I will explain how we made the benchmark, and as this is a recipe, we need some ingredients. So these are our ingredients, but as in every recipe, everyone does things differently. They change some ingredients. They change the measure of the ingredients. So this is ours. You can do yours. We used a VM, Nokia vSIM with EVNG in release 22.10.R3 with the MD-CLI mod configure. For those who don't know, this is a model-driven for Nokia. You can also be in a mixed mode for Netconf on the Nokia devices, but here we use the MD-CLI. We have a very light configuration on the router. We used NSO version 5.7.8.1, quite old, but this is the one that we have into production, so it made sense. CLI NED ALU-SR 8.37, quite old too, but this is the one that we use in production too. And it's enough for what we are doing at the moment. For the Netconf NED, we use the Netconf NED builder to generate it. And the configuration to be applied is 4,200 lines of configuration in CLI. So more in Netconf, because Netconf is more verbose. So the recipe. With CLI, first, we created a rollback point on the router. Then we configure manually the router with the services that we wanted to configure and to test. So this is the 4,200 lines. Then we have added the device on NSO with the NED ALU-SR. We made a sync from to save the complete configuration. We reverted to the rollback point. It took 40 seconds. So it's 40 seconds to suppress the lines. And then we use the sync to features of NSO to apply the whole lines of configuration. And it took 7 minutes and 40 seconds for this. This is a test environment, not a production environment. So we said, okay, why not? This is the result that we have, and it's okay. It's pretty normal because we see on the production environment that when we are doing some massive OLT migration, the operation can last up to 30 minutes. So 30 minutes while the network operator is waiting for the operation to be completed. So with Netconf, the process is a bit simpler. We created a new Netconf and NSO with the default Netconf NED. We created and compiled the Netconf NED using the Netconf NED builder. And we did the same, async from to save the complete configuration. We made a rollback on the router, and then async to. And then the result is 21 seconds. So 7 minutes, 40 seconds with the CLI NEDs, 21 seconds with the Netconf NEDs. So it was quite impressive. So I tried to apply the Kubler-Ross change curve to the Netconf NED and to our reaction. So first, we were shocked by the results. We rejected it. We didn't believe it. We said, okay, there might be a mistake somewhere. We'll try to deactivate some features because it's not normal. But results were the same. So setback. We accepted the result. We continued the test with other releases. And then we were really sad. Why? Because we met some blocking interrupt issues between NSO and the Nokia routers. Actually, we began to make the test with the mixed mode of Nokia SRS. And there is some very blocking point, not to configure the router, everything is fine, but to make some sync from. And if you cannot make some sync from, you are all aware that you cannot do anything. So, really sad. But, experiment, we discovered that Cisco developed a new Netconf NED template. So it's a Netconf NED template for the Nokia router, for Netconf, and it solves every issues that you can meet on the Nokia devices. At least all the issues that we met. So we were really happy to discover this new NED. And I thank the developers who developed it, because it really helped us. Because on the production network, we don't have the MD CLI mode configured. We are on the mixed mode. So we cannot go into production with the Netconf NED template without with the Netconf NED generated by the Netconf NED builder without this Netconf NED template. So we made the decision to integrate the Netconf NED to our NSO ecosystem, and now we are integrating it. So we are generating the NED and we are modifying our RFS templates. So you saw the results, 21 seconds and 7 minutes and 40 seconds. So this is 20 times faster. So what does it mean concretely for Orange France? Is we can shorten the impact for customers. It will allow us to do more operations on the same time slot, because, as I mentioned, 30 minutes, and it will be 20 times faster, so it will last only 1 minute and 30 seconds. So it will be really great for the network operators, and we have less and less time slots for the operation, so it will be really interesting. And in a long-term way, I assume that there will be less capex invested in hardware for performance issues. Some feedback on the interop between Nokia SRS routers and NSO. First, bad news, and we'll finish with the good news. Nokia mixed mode is really painful to interoperate with Cisco NSO. The old Nokia SRS release has non-conformity either with young library support or Netconf RFC. And with NSO, you have some issues to integrate it. But with NSO, the RFC compliancy change when you upgrade your NSO release. So it might work on the NSO release, you upgrade, it does not anymore. So it's a bit complicated. And Nokia young models are not always reliable as a source of truth because they are having a single young models for every SRS routers, and every SRS routers doesn't have the same capabilities and the same functionalities. So it might happen that you think that you are able to configure something on NSO with the young models, but the configuration won't be applied on the router because the feature is not supported. But there is good news. First, as I mentioned, there is the Cisco NSO template, Netconf that address the interoperability issues. Second one, if you are using or moving to MDCLI on Nokia devices, it solves issues, every other issues on the recent version. And the Nokia SRS release 24 young models should become more stable than before, so it will be easier to progress. So what's next for us? The NSO migration to Netconf. We are planning it in September 2024, this year. So we'll take advantage of some important new use case that we want to develop on NSO, to develop them directly with Netconf models and not CLI models, and then migrating to the CLI. I think there is another presentation this afternoon at 1 p.m. on migrating to Netconf, and it will be really interesting for us. We are migrating all of network operation processes and templates that use NSO to Netconf. They are using CLI today. And one important thing is that we have the chance to test both Netconf nets. The one with the Netconf Net Builder net on a particular equipment that we are deploying right now, and that we are deploying using the MDCLI in a recent release. And the Nokia SRS-NC, which is the Netconf Net template developed by Cisco for the older routers that are in a mixed mode. So we will be able to test both nets to see the reliability and the stability of these nets. And also we are upgrading to NSO 6.1, and we will see if we experiment some new issues on Netconf nets. So thank you for your attention, and we can discuss on your experience with Netconf Net. I don't know if some are using Netconf nets. I don't see anyone with the light, but yeah, so there are some. Yeah, okay, great. So maybe you have some experience to share, and we can discuss it later, even if it's on Nokia devices or on other devices. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Etienne. We have at least one question up, so if we can pop that up, that would be great. So while the questions are coming up, so as complexity grows in the configuration, would you expect the delta between CLI and Netconf to grow even larger, or do you think it'd stay pretty stable? Because you said you started with pretty simple, lightweight configurations.
Yes, of course the configuration will grow and it will become more and more complex, but This is not due to Netconf or CLI. This is just because we are growing the number of services. Netconf is raising the number of lines to be applied, but it's not a problem because we saw with the NED and with Nokia, the experience is a lot better.
Okay, great. I think top question you can handle, bottom question I can handle.
Yeah, a very interesting question about the native young models and open config. So we are using the proprietary young models of Nokia and not the open config ones. We don't work with open config models at the moment. Maybe we'll do it later, but as we only deploy some services on Nokia routers for the moment with NSO, we were not working on the interop on several equipments, several vendors.
Is there a reason? I mean, are you looking for something particular for adopting open config? Is it just not interesting, or? I'm curious. I mean, it comes up a lot, right? So it's kind of curious from your
actually, maybe it's a wrong approach, but we thought it's a bit like when you use a proprietary, when you used to use proprietary MIBs in SNMP versus standard MIBs. There is a lot of things in the proprietary MIBs that are not in the standard. So this is why we only looked at the native young models.
Okay, great. We want to tackle how difficult was it to translate the templates from CLI to Netconf?
Yeah, okay. How difficult was to translate? It was not difficult at all because we have some tool on the routers and on NSO to generate the XML file, the XML configuration, and just it was really simple to just variabilize the template. So no issue here.
Okay, cool.
At the moment. For now.
So the question about why don't we provide more Netconf models for other vendors? So Netconf models, actually, most vendors treat them as proprietary. So we as Cisco often have a hard time accessing them. Other vendors don't provide them. You have to own service contracts to access the documentation, those kinds of things. Everything our NED team does, they reverse engineer from whatever's publicly available. So, the CLI is a publicly available thing, so we reverse engineer from that or use published open APIs. So if you'd like more Netconf models and NEDs available, talk to your vendors. That's not a thing that we as a company have control over. So with that, unless there are any other questions, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.